Namaste. In the part 1, I spoke about the subject of spiritualism and the difference between the spirit, spirituality, what it is to be spiritual, why all four of them have their own independent meanings. Spiritualism is the subject of the spirit, and spirit, according to us, is the subject of life. It is that metaphysical aspect, the formless characteristic of a composite unit comprising of the body, mind and the spirit. Body and mind, the physical self and the mental self, we are very well aware of. But when it comes to the spirit, most of us do not know what it is. How does it differ from the soul? And why is it so loosely used and abused? Very conveniently, religion has taken the authority of the subject of spiritualism, even though it speaks a different language altogether. Religion, organized religion, is based on a separate God according to culture and community. Whereas spiritualism speaks about oneness. All that exists is one and not two. Which now quantum science agrees to it, quantum mechanics or quantum physics, and says that all that exists is energy. Everything else is an optical illusion. Deep down, our body and mind are simply waves of energy, in potentiality, in possibility. So, the third quotient, the spirit, we hardly know anything, and that is who you truly are. Because of the spirit, you can see what you see, you can hear what you hear. The whole universe unfolds because of the spirit inside our mind. It is that, like I explained in part 1, that it is that aware conscious energy, it is that conscious principle. Without being aware, you cannot see what you see. Spirit is the essence of perception. All that you perceive, you have to become aware to know what it is. So, in reality, you're not a physical being. You are an I-less state, I-less state, with no I. With no I, it's that universal spirit is who you are. And the body and mind is what you are. Because it's the spirit which tells you, it's that knowingness, it's that beingness, it's that awareness, through which all that exists in this universe, the whole universe unfolds, because only after you become aware and conscious. If you're not aware, nothing exists. Nothing exists. For a rock, nothing exists. Your mind and body is dead meat. Everything exists because your awareness says so. So, spirit is the ultimate reality. Spirit is who you are. And spiritualism is the subject of the spirit, elaborating and providing you with the ultimate knowledge, which you don't seem to be interested. You just don't bother to know who you are. And what happens? What happens? The mind takes over, even though the mind is nothing without the spirit, and goes into duality, in relativity, with opposites, choosing between this and that, God and the devil, good and bad, positive, negative, happiness, sadness, to experience, infer and realize for its thinking eye, for its cognitive eye, not realizing that it is the spirit, the realized spirit, which makes all these things possible. Without the spirit, you would not know anything. Duality comes out of non-duality for the time that it is there and goes back into non-duality, into that absoluteness, into that totality, into that total awareness. Everything comes out from it, from the subatomic particles to the stars, and goes back into it. So, spirit is the all and all. It is that knowingness, it is that who you are. Now let's come down to the second, spirituality. The ITY after the word spiritual, like humanity, divinity, sexuality, anxiety. All these are processes of the mind, for the mind, by the mind. It has got nothing to do with the spirit. It is the mind which, in order to tame itself, discipline itself from randomly and recklessly chattering into this and that, here and there, multitasking. The reason for which you see all this chaos and havoc all around, it's the subconscious mind working in an unconscious manner. In an unconscious manner. That you have a lot of materiality, but a very low degree of spirituality. All the methods and efforts, like meditation, japa, yoga, tai chi, vipassana, etc., etc. These are all mental methods meant to transcend the mind, to evolve the mind. Very, very few of us succeed because the mind bounces back with double strength by your gossiping. You know, I'm doing meditation these days. Like a friend of mine, when he told me the fourth time that he had gone to some place to do vipassana, and I stopped him. I said, please, I've heard this a number of times from you. Please stop it now. Forget this topic of your having done vipassana. So it's more of a gossip. It's more of a show-off. It's more of your ego trying to express that I have done something better than you have. It's nothing to do with the spirit. It's supposed to take you. That is why the word spirituality is used. It's supposed to take you towards the spirit. But it can take you only till the periphery of the core. It cannot enter the core. Because the core is the spirit, and the spirit is the divine. It's that thou art that. It's that tattvam asi. It's that aham brahmasmi. It's that shivoham sitting within you, residing within you, but dormant and passive. Until and unless it is awakened, until and unless you become aware of it, until and unless your mind wishes to understand with clarity what the spirit is all about. See, The spirit is the subject. The soul is its objective, contained in the soul. To observe what the mind is doing, to check and guide the uncontrollable operating system that you have. It checks, it guides, subtly, telling you whenever you're going beyond limits. So spirituality is a reformative process of the mind. It's got nothing to do with the spirit. So what is now spiritual? Again, a word very commonly used for everything good, moral, ethical, anything. You use the word spiritual. I am very spiritual. Sorry. You're just deceiving yourself. It's because you're not interested in this subject. You're not interested really to transcend. You're not interested to reform yourself. You're not interested to become a better human being. You're not interested to really know who you are as the ultimate reality, as the ultimate self, as the ultimate of everything. Everything exists because your spirit says so, like I said earlier. So in order to be spiritual, you have to go beyond that I which creates your me, mine and myself, that I which you identify with through your mind, which you attach sentimentally. Once you start knowing that you are beyond that physical being, beyond that mental being, and you are that spirit, you start becoming spiritual. You just become an observer of your identity and attachments. You do not get affected by it. You do not get anxious by it. You do not get into greed, lust, envy, jealousy, etc., because you're just an observer. You have now become aloof from the mind and you're just watching it, you're just observing it. You have become spiritual. You've become spiritual. The more you are not attached to your identification and your attachments, the more you go towards that absoluteness of oneness, where you have sensitivity, not sentimentality, sensitivity. You are sensitive to everything that is around as one and not two. From a crumpled piece of paper to the tiniest of creature. When you realize that you are interconnected, interdependent, interrelated to everything as one, you by yourself are nothing. Without the tree giving you the oxygen, you can't breathe. Without the food coming from all over, you can't expand. So, everything is interconnected. You're connected with the air to breathe. You cannot live by yourself. You have to have people around, everything around, for your eyes to perceive and conceive. So, to be spiritual is to know the spirit first with clarity. As a serious seeker, you have to make effort, not mental effort and techniques and practices of meditation, etc., but to make an effort to know the knowledge of what the spirit is all about with full understanding and clarity. And then from your selfishness, effortlessly you will become selfless. From your arrogance, humility will emerge. From the darkness, light will radiate or illumine. So, please have a balance between the material and the spiritual. Both are necessary. Balance yourself. Don't be over selfish. Think about selflessness. Care, compassion, contentment is what is going to make you spiritual. Namaste.